The roof behind me saves 3 lakhs a year. Want to know how? Keep watching. Hey all, Nikhil here from Home Banao with a really interesting video for you. I have with me Mutana, part of Alpha Power Solutions, which is a 20-year-old energy company. Mutana, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nikhil.
We are going to talk about solar. We are going to talk about everything you need to know about solar. We are in the beautiful Bangalore International Center, and the whole idea here is this: to get a detailed understanding of solar from Mutana, who's been implementing these solutions left, right and center. Mutana, please go ahead to get started. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Mutana. I am a part of Alpha Power Solutions. I have an overall industry experience of 30 years, and I've been in the solar field for the last 7 years. And we have done all kinds of installations when it comes to domestic, industrial and commercial establishments. There are different types of solar solutions. It's not just one solution. It can be an off-grid, on-grid, battery-based system. So the solutions are based on the need.
This is a normal question which even I have. Why should I care about solar? I can understand, all the environmental things and all that. Practically, why should I even care?
Okay, so let's go 10 years back. Do you remember 10 years back? What was the cost of power?
About 4-5 rupees per unit.
4-5 rupees. Today you're paying 8 rupees.
Okay.
So in the last 10 years, power tariffs have gone up by 3 rupees, which is 7% year on year. So if you take last 7 years, it's 70% increase in the power tariff. Power tariff is not going to come down because costs are going up. Generation cost is going up. That is point number one. Point number two is you will get a call from DISCOM saying that you have to pay a deposit. You have used too much of power, so give me an extra deposit of so much.
Right.
So all these things are something that is here to stay. By using a solar power plant, you are reducing your units that you are using. So let us say you are using about 200 or 300 units in a year. You bring that down. So you are insuring yourself against the number of units that you are using. You can't insure yourself against the tariff, but you can insure yourself against usage of units.
And is that the main thing which I should keep in mind and why I should care?
Yes. When it comes to a tier 1 city, this is predominantly what you should care about because your power tariffs are high and you can stop paying your electricity bills. You go to a tier 2 city or a place which is beyond the Bangalore corporation limits, there is no power at all.
Okay.
Yeah, I found people saying I get power for maybe 4 hours, 5 hours, and after that there's no power.
Even now, don't they say that, to a certain extent, a lot of states in India have become power generation surplus states?
How many?
Okay.
Out of 20 odd states, how many states? Maybe 1 or 2 states.
Okay.
But see, let's take a typical example of Bangalore. You just go 60, I just went recently 70 kilometers away, Devanhalli, that part of town. And while talking to the customer, he said, I don't have power for 4 to 5 hours in the day. So we said, yeah, here we are. The sun is there.
Right.
And the sun is always going to be there.
Right.
So you're going to have power. Come what may, we will make sure that you have power, and if you have power, we will reduce your electricity bills.
Interesting. Okay. So there is one school of thought that, I understand that you can save my costs and all, but why should I care about solar now? It can be something in the future when it becomes exorbitantly high or something. So why should I care about solar now?
Good question. Technology is at its best. Earlier, to generate 1 kilowatt, we needed to use 4 panels. Now we need to use only 2 panels. Technology has changed over a period of time, and your ROI, which is the most interesting part. Everybody talks about what is my return on investment. Today it is 3 to 4 years for an industry. Of course, that is taking into consideration a 40% depreciation, which is allowed. And prices are at reality today. Okay. Earlier it was almost 2 times the price that is today.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the depreciation front? Like what are you referring to?
Any organization which is making profits. So let us say an organization has a 1 lakh profit. He spends 40,000 rupees on solar installation. That 40,000 rupees he can depreciate. That means he pays tax not on 1 lakh, he pays tax only on 60,000. So that's almost 30% of 40% is 12%. So 12% your cost is coming down in your books of account. and you'll
Perfect.
avoid.
How long do you think this will be allowed from the government side?
At present, it's in vogue.
Okay.
I think it will be there for at least a year or two. But yeah, good question again. Earlier it was 60%.
Whoa.
Now it is 40%. It's called an
Damn.
accelerated depreciation.
So moving on to the next part, say you've convinced me that I have to get into solar. How do I go about it? What's my next step? What should I start with? How do I think about it? There's so many different things I hear about.
So let us start with the basics. The basic thing that we have to look at is what is your electricity consumption.
Okay.
So the first thing is we ask our customers to send their electricity bills. So that will give us a clear idea what is the connected load, what are the number of units you're using on a monthly basis. And the second thing will be we'll have to do a site visit to see how much of area is available. What is important here is the area that is available should be a shadow-free area. It should be an area where solar can be installed without any tall buildings or trees coming in the way. Preference is to the south facing because the best generation is towards the south because the sun moves from east to west via south in tropical countries. Then we have to look at whether we can give it an angle of 12 to 15 degrees, which is an ideal angle. These are factors that come into the picture when we do a site inspection. So we send our guys, we do a site inspection, we see how many floors you're on, what is the kind of wiring that is needed,
Okay.
where can we place the inverter, where can we place the AC-DB, the DC-DB, where is the evacuation done. All these details are done through a site inspection. And then we get into the commercials. Once we know how much of power is required to totally square off your bill, then we come out with a solution. Third step is to decide on what technology we are going to go in for. Because today you have different technologies, different brands that are available. So what is the difference you would like to know? So let us say a 1 kilowatt of X brand is giving you an output of 1200 units. The same 1 kilowatt of a Y brand can give you 1300 units. Is a 1 kilowatt of X and Y brand the same? No. It is not the same because the output is different, and what makes the difference in the output is the technology that they use. Point number 2 that we look into is what is the kind of history of the panel manufacturer. How many years is been there? So there are basically 4 evaluations that we do when we suggest a panel, what kind of panel that you should use. One is the history, whether he's been in the business for 20 years, 25 years, what technology is he using? Is he using the same conventional technology or is it something different that he's using? At the end of the day, it's all to achieve a better output. The second thing in the evaluation is what is the output, like I told you. The third thing is there is what is called as a derating factor. The panel ages over a period of time. Year on year there is an aging. So here what we do is we give you an input. There are panels which age at 0.5% year on year.
Okay.
There are panels which age 0.7 and it can go up to 1%. So that is the second criteria. And the third criteria is the most important criteria is what is the warranty that is given on the panels. The market standards are 10 to 12 years on a product warranty, and there is a brand which gives you 25 years warranty. And of course the after sales service, it's basically what is the attitude towards
The customer.
The customer. Whether if there is a complaint, I have to resolve it, or is there a complaint and how do I say no to this complaint? so these are factors, that really go a long way. And since we have been in the field for the last 7 years, we have dealt with companies, we know who's who.
And you mentioned about technology and about the kind of panel and how it varies, life and percentage and wattage. So like what's the best of the best in terms of technology? What do you call it if someone has to know?
See, I will not go too much into technology. There's a brand which is called as Sun Power.
Okay.
They have their own technology which is called as a sandwich technology.
Okay.
Where they've taken care of small details like the placement of the cells to the panel. They've given it a distance so that any dust collection doesn't hamper the generation. So basically 2 things. One thing is what is the generation. Second is the longevity of the life of the panel. And the third thing are all these small things like, to see that the product doesn't fail. See, after all, it's a product which is open to sunlight,
Right.
water, maybe some areas there are going to be hailstones. So the panel, the thickness of the glass is important.
Right.
So on and so forth. So it could be in a desert, so you have continuous sand blowing.
Okay.
So we have to look at companies which have made a product for international use, not only for a localized use.
I also want to understand this. Say I'm thinking about the cost. What are normal areas where companies cut corners in the panels and things like that, if I were to understand that?
There are 2 types of companies. One is a businessman.
Right.
Okay. So his only goal is to make panels and offer it at the cheapest possible price to the market.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
The second type of company who are technocrats who are continuously on R&D.
Right.
Okay. They have a separate R&D team which is always looking at how to improve the efficiency, how to improve the longevity, how to reduce the aging factor of the panels. There are a few companies who are always there. I would like to name a few companies like SunPower is the best panel available in the world. Then we have Panasonic, and we have a few Indian brands. The second thing that people compromise when it comes to integration is there is a standard inverter. It's called as a string inverter. So the string inverter is old technology. There are other technologies which is called a micro inverter, and there is what is called as an optimizer. I won't go into too much of detail, but what these two products does is whatever is generated, the entire thing comes into the facility. Whereas in the string inverter, it is an old technology. So let us say you are generating 10 units, you might not get all the 10 units in.
Okay.
I will not get into
more technical jargon.
Too much of jargons.
Yeah.
So basically this is what happens in the industry. And of course, when it comes to the electrical part, it's very, very important. What are the cables? What are the brand of cables? What are the protections? Because at the end of the day, electricity badly managed is equal to fire. There could be compromises. There are places where the installations are bad. It got blown out in one of the the tsunamis, in the high wind. There have been cases where it has burnt out. So there is a lot of safety precautions that have to be taken.
These are the places where people, to reduce cost, actually compromise on?
Actually compromise, because in India this is a very popular term of selecting which company or which brand to go in. It's called as L1, lowest one.
Oh God.
So you have 5 guys quoting.
Yeah.
And whoever is the lowest gets the order. So the lowest normally is not the best. You have to cut corners. Let's face facts.
Right.
So that's something that we don't do, because at the end of the day, the solar power plant has to last for the next 25 years.
Right. But I also want to understand, you told me on an electricity standpoint and inverter standpoint, but from a panel perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like the main thing is the panel.
Yeah.
So over there, how do manufacturers cut costs?
See, predominantly today you have the influx of China.
Right.
Okay. And everybody knows that China are one of the masters in cost cutting. So what they do is, whatever price you offer, they make a panel for that. So there is what is called a silicon. Silicon is the base for the panel.
Right.
So you can use inferior quality silicon. You
Right.
can use inferior quality back plates.
Right.
You can use inferior quality glass.
Right.
The frame of the panel can be inferior quality.
Okay.
So all these are compromises, and at the end of the day, it will not last its life cycle, which has to be 25 years.
Okay. So
That's about
the
it.
silicon, the glass panel, the back plates, circuitry maybe?
Circuitry, yes. Yeah, there could be a compromise, but
It's not such a huge
generally
factor.
It's not a very huge factor.
So the main is silicon, glass, and the back plates.
What kind of there is a monocrystalline technology and there's a polycrystalline technology.
Right.
So what is that they're using, and how good are these technologies? So there could be a compromise over there.
So if I want to make a decision as an informed customer, which technology should I go for, and how do I check this actually? Because it's very difficult to understand.
Yeah, so we have a software, which there are 1 or 2 softwares. One is called Polysys. We can put the brand of PV panel and put the inverter and say this is the capacity, and it will give you what might be the output.
Oh,
Yes,
interesting.
yes.
Okay, that's
it is
good.
possible. Even though I've been in the industry for the last 7 years, I've seen plants which are 15, 20 years. So whatever we are talking is actually what is happening.
Okay.
Actually what is happening. It's not any arithmetical calculation.
Right.
It is all, practical ground reality, we can call it.
So yeah, now I understand what you just said, the basic process which you follow. So can you tell me a bit more about, say, I have a home now and I just want to take solar. So what sort of solutions can I look for? And typically, like, how does the interaction work with BESCOM and electric board and all that stuff? Like, how is the process like? Can you take me through that?
Yeah, surely. So there are two types.
So one sec, sorry to interrupt. BESCOM is our electric board in Bangalore, guys. You will have a separate electric board in your respective cities and states. So we are talking about BESCOM right now because
we are sitting
here
in Bangalore and Karnataka. So
yeah, but it will be slightly different for your electric board. So please take this, whatever discussion Mutana will be having now, with a grain of salt. Go ahead, Mutana.
So there is what is called as an on-grid and what is called as an off-grid.
Okay.
So where do we use these? So the first thing we try to understand is, why is a customer going in for solar and where is he placed? So let us say a tier 1 city, you have your grid uptime is good. That means your BESCOM is giving you power. They're giving you regular power. Once in a way you have power shutdown. So there we consider an on-grid, that is basically to bring down your power bills. So let's talk about Karnataka, how this technology or how the scheme works. It is nothing but you have your BESCOM source, which is your primary source, to which you're introducing a secondary source, which is solar. And both of these work in sync. But by default, solar gets priority. So let's take an example. Let us say you have a load of 10 units. Solar is generating 2 units at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock in the morning, the generation is not at its peak. So you're generating 2, there's a shortfall of 8. So that 8 you take from BESCOM. As the day advances, generation also advances. The 2 units at 11 o'clock will become 10 units. So your load is 10, solar is generating 10, so you take 0. For some reason, you're generating 10, your load comes down to 8, that means you have an excess of 2. So in the net metering policy, the 2 is exported. So the import and the export is netted off in the net metering policy on a monthly basis. So at the end of the month, you will get a reading, because definitely you are going to import power, because in the night solar is not available.
Correct.
So you will be taking power. During the day, solar is available, so you might not take from BESCOM.
Right.
So this whole thing is netted off. You will get a bill saying that you have taken 100 units from us, you have exported 100 units.
It's balanced out.
Net is 0.
Got it.
It can be 3 different ways. It can be imported 100, exported only 80, you pay for 20. And it can be a total export also. Let us say you go on a holiday to Switzerland. Solar will not start generating, isn't it? But
Right.
you're not using.
Right.
So that whole thing gets exported.
Right.
Or for an industry, you might come across the pandemic which has hit us so badly.
Right.
Your industry is not running. So
Right.
solar will continue to generate.
Okay.
And all that is exported. And for the net export, you are paid at today's cost is 3 rupees 99 paisa is what you're paid. So it's not going a waste.
Right. Right. Right.
So this is when it comes to the on-grid. The off-grid solution is a total different solution.
Okay.
These solutions are given to customers or places where the grid uptime is bad. When I say the grid uptime is bad, it means that there is not enough power coming at all.
Okay.
Like you go to a farmhouse, they say, I don't get power for 4 hours every day. So there's no point putting this on grid. There we have an off grid, which doesn't involve any kind of BESCOM activity. There the entire thing is integrated with batteries, and it's a totally different solution. Of course, the pre-site visit and all those kind of things have to happen, but the BESCOM approval side is not there.
So, talking about this BESCOM approval, like how long does it generally take? Is there a lot of red tape involved? Is there a lot of documentation involved? How does it work?
All that is involved, but we take care of the entire thing from an end to end.
Okay.
The customer has to only give us the inputs.
Interesting.
Like, he gives us his electricity bills. And today everything is online,
Right.
So we can enter everything online, and we do the entire thing without disturbing the customer, asking the customer to go to BESCOM.
So
and,
that's where the challenge comes. If someone wants to do an DIY on grid, it becomes really challenging for them, like to figure out all this, navigate through this.
It takes enormous time, because dealing with the government authorities, of course they are also busy, so there are challenges.
So for industries and for individual homes, what is the sort of cost saving they can achieve?
Yeah, we can bring it down to 0.
Okay.
Your total electricity, see, basically we look at it like this: 3 fixed costs for an industry: rent, salary, and electricity bills.
Right.
Can you do anything on rent? Will it come down?
No, doubtfully.
Will salaries come down?
No.
Electricity bills, we can reduce it for you.
Okay.
And we can reduce it to 0.
Okay.
Provided you have enough space to install that many panels.
Okay.
So typically in an industry which is vertical has lesser space.
Right.
The same thing is if an industry is this way, we get a lot of space too. So any industry which has a long length to breadth kind of area, there we can bring down their bills to zero provided they have enough space. But definitely an industry can reduce minimum 50% of it because that much of space will be there.
Okay.
Any manufacturing industry.
Right, right.
It is only the commercial establishments which go vertical. Typically it's an IT industry.
Right, right, right.
Because these guys, they go
Vertical, yeah.
they go up to the sky.
Yeah.
So they don't have enough space. They have 4 floors, 10 floors, but they have only one roof.
Right.
So that's a challenge. So
There
but
only a small
anyways,
percentage can be reduced.
small percentage can be reduced, but whatever is reduced.
So what about individual homes?
Individual homes, villas, any villa will generally have enough space to bring down their bills to zero.
Okay.
And there, what we can do is, we need to have to surface mount it. So what we can do is we can elevate the structure so that the surface is always available for them. It doesn't go waste.
Okay.
Something like this, we are sitting under a roof.
A solar roof, yeah.
We are sitting under a solar roof. So
Yeah.
the area is totally free for us.
Right, right,
And
right.
It's a dining area. If you look at this, it's a dining area.
Right.
So you have solar and you have not wasted that space at
Right,
all.
makes sense. This is an important question because I've read cases of people who have burnt their hands. So, what are some common mistakes which people end up doing in solar?
Yeah, the heart of the system is the panels. So that is where people have made a lot of mistakes.
Okay.
It is not only you. We have done power audits for close to 15 different enterprises.
Okay.
And these are the guys who bought panels with only one intent to buy it cheap. Okay.
Okay.
And 20% to 70% are failures.
Wow.
So how do we check this? These are all large installations. So we have drones with thermal cameras. So we fly drones over the panels and we pick up hotspots. A hotspot is nothing but if the panel is malfunctioning, there will be a heat. The heat should not go beyond a particular level. And if it goes beyond a particular level, there is a hotspot. So there is a red spot that we detect. So that means something is wrong with that panel. So this is one of the basic mistake people make. See, it's a product which should last you for 25 years and you should not compromise on this.
Right.
It's the heart of the system. Just because of price, and the prices are not too high. When you look at the overall cost, it is not exorbitant to go in for a
Good quality panel.
Good quality panel at all. Because
Right.
it's only the panel cost which is going up. The rest of the cost is almost the same.
Right, right, right.
So if you look at a project cost perspective, it might be 10%, but if you're looking at cost to benefit, definitely you'll get 10% better returns.
And when you say selection of panels, like what are the kind of panels which people should avoid?
There are panels which are coming very, very cheap.
That's a red light.
That's a red light. Okay.
Like if it's too cheap, then something's wrong.
Something is definitely wrong with it.
Right.
And then you have to look at the efficiency of the panel. So easiest thing to do is, now if I'm offering a 450 watt peak panel, most of the panels are on the same size. It's a 3 by 6,
Right.
3 feet by 6 feet. So one 3 by 6 can generate 330 watt peak. We can go up to 450 watt peak.
Okay.
So will you go for a 330 or will you go for a 450? Is the question.
Yeah, and I would prefer the 451. Like
Exactly.
I get for the same space, I get much better output.
Output, and it is more efficient.
Right.
Okay, so this is one of the parameters.
Right.
The other parameters I told you, the longevity of the company,
Right.
the technology that they use,
Right,
the
right,
re-rating factor, and so on and so forth.
Okay. So the first mistake is don't choose shit panels basically.
Don't choose panels which are cheap. When I say cheap, it's in price.
Yeah.
Always look at the number 1, number 2, and number 3 band.
Right. What else? What are the other mistakes which people make in
Yeah,
solar?
they compromise on the electrical cables. They use low quality cables. They will undersize the cables. The other factor is the inverter. The predominantly used inverters are called string inverters. Nothing wrong with them. They are good. Only thing is the technology is a little old.
Okay.
So the advancement has been micro inverters and optimizers. So more details I can give you whenever you get in touch with me.
And what else? What are the other mistakes? Like placement of the panel, like how important is it?
Exactly, okay. So when you talk about tropical countries, the ideal placement for a panel is south facing,
Okay.
and it should be at a degree of 12 to 15%.
Okay.
The 12 to 15 degrees. That is the ideal way of doing it. north is a no-no,
Okay.
east and west is okay.
Okay.
So if south generates 100, north will generate 85, and east and west will generate 95.
Oh, wow.
So it's only a 5 to 6% dip east-west, but north is a 15% dip in generation.
Okay.
So generally people don't look into it. Of course, by and large people are looking at it, but some people are more bothered about aesthetics. So they say, no, I don't want 12, 15 degree,
Yeah,
6 degrees. So that's fine. It's fine with them if they are willing to compromise.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, that's
but they should be
okay.
aware of it.
They should be. No, we give them all the inputs. We give them all the inputs. In spite of that, they want to go against it. But north is something we tell them to avoid, and till today we have not done anything on the north facing.
Interesting. Okay. Moving on to the next part, I want to talk about the most important part, which is life and maintenance. You hear these claims that it's going to last you 10 years, 25 years and all that. Like, how realistic is that? How do you even determine that? And how are you supposed to maintain it?
See, when it comes to maintenance, it's a very, very simple maintenance. All you have to do is keep the panels clean. Because if the panel is not clean, in other words, generation is not happening, because you're blocking the panel. So when you're at a 12 to 15 degree angle, anyways the dust is sliding down. But there are certain industries which produce something which goes and settles. So in that case, the panels have to be just watered. There's no, going and rubbing it and things like that. You just water the panels to see that they are clean. Rubbing the panels or cleaning it will be required in very seldom cases where the industry is producing something which is going and settling and sticking to the panel.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just common dust. That's all that you have to look at maintenance. And of course, for industries, the access should be important, because
Okay.
these are all large installations. So there is what is called as, when you have a row of panels, there's what is called as a walkway.
Okay.
So between two panels, you give a walkway so that people can walk along that place and keep the panels clean.
Okay.
And in case of a complaint also, it is easily approachable.
What about an individual home?
In an individual home, it's not required, because basically you will have 6 panels or 10 panels. So there should be a water source, and the gardener in your house or whoever is taking care of your house,
Just water it.
Just water it. So there should be a ladder if it's elevated. If it's not elevated, anybody can just go in. You can even just throw a bucket of water.
Next, I want to understand, so what does the future hold for solar?
Well, the future is exciting. Okay, people have started thinking that they should go solar because the dependence on power and the vagaries of power. See, what is happening in this country is the demand and supply is lopsided. So when your demand is high and your supply is low, that is when you have all these vagaries. You must have heard of, I put a stabilizer, I put a UPS. That is only because of the lopsidedness of
Demand and supply. Yeah.
So once you put a solar, all that is getting blocked. So you are getting better power. Today the prices for solar has come to ground, ground realities. You can call it as close to reality prices.
Right.
The prices are not going to go anywhere further down, because we are already hitting rock bottom. It's only going up, and we have already seen it with the pandemic. It's already slowly, there is an increase in price.
Superb.
So my advice is, anybody who wants to reduce your fixed costs, whether it's a residence, whether it's
Commercial or even a school.
schools, commercial establishments, industries, houses, farmhouses.
Insure yourself against BESCOM.
Exactly. Why listen to them?
Right.
Bring down your consumption.
Yeah.
Bring down your consumption, and indirectly you are also helping them.
Right.
Okay. One thing is your consumption is coming down. Your second thing is your quality of your power is becoming better. That means your specialized equipment like your home theaters, your music systems, all those will last a longer time.
Because your power is more stable.
Your power is more stable, and you're bridging the gap between demand and supply. So your power is becoming cleaner. So we are at the Bangalore International Center, which is placed in Domlur. It's a place for informed art and culture.
Okay.
So we have done a 30 kilowatt solar power plant here. Here we have used a very different type of panel. These are called bifacial panels,
Okay.
where it is a glass. So it's translucent. Generally the panels will have a plastic back cover.
Right.
Here it is glass, so you can see that light is coming down. This is one German brand. The best part about this is they wanted this kind of a panel.
Okay.
Because if you see, this area is being used as a dining area. So if you look at it, each of the panels are wired,
Okay.
but you cannot see what you see the wiring here is
For the lights.
It's for the lights.
Right.
Okay, so we have created boxes,
Okay.
and into the boxes the entire wiring has gone.
Wow. Okay.
So let's walk along.
So the metal structure, like, and everything, how was the whole installation done? Can you take us through that?
Yeah, see, the structure was actually provided by the user itself.
Okay.
So all we had to do is we had to align the panels
Okay.
and then wire up the whole thing.
Okay.
So there is a kind of series kind of wiring that has to be done.
Okay.
Entire thing was wired,
Okay.
and once it is wired, solar generates DC power.
Okay.
So that DC power, the whole thing goes and gets evacuated at a different place,
Okay.
and you have a DC DB,
Okay.
distribution board, DC DB.
Okay.
So it goes there, and from the distribution board it goes to an inverter,
Okay.
and the inverter inverts
Okay.
a DC into AC.
Okay.
Because all our systems,
Appliances are AC.
all our appliances are AC,
Right.
and so there we have used a brand called Delta inverter,
Okay.
again one of the leading brands.
So Mutana, what was the total area of this particular installation which we're walking through?
Yeah, we got about 1,000 square feet over here,
Okay.
and we have installed about 30 kilowatt.
Wow.
30 kilowatt will be generating 39,000 units
Of power a year.
a year.
Okay, that's a pretty good amount of saving. And when do you think they'll recover the amount of this?
About if they take depreciation, they should recover it in 4 to 5 years.
That's pretty good. And I mean, it doesn't feel like I'm actually under a solar plant.
Yeah,
That's the
it's
best
very-
part.
It's very different. It's very different. Of course, the design was by an architect,
Uh-huh.
and we had the product that he wanted,
Okay.
and we were able to execute it to his liking.
And how long did a plant like this take?
To install,
Yeah?
we took about 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Okay. That's awesome. It doesn't take that long.
It doesn't take it.
I mean, anyone who is basically doing a brick or a tile installation should actually consider solar for roofs and things like that.
Why only brick and tile? Anybody should consider solar.
Right, right. But if it can look this pretty,
Yeah.
like definitely.
Yeah, now you have people who have realized that you can, of course, the structure is an extra cost,
Okay.
but then you're getting that area to use.
Right, right.
Just imagine if this 1,000 square feet was
Just
solar.
left aside. There you go, guys. Thanks a lot for watching this video. If you have any doubts, please let us know in the comment section below. I'll ask Mutana to respond. And if you have any questions regarding solar, you can reach out to him. I'll put their contact details in the description. And thank you for watching so much. Do subscribe to Home Banao for more future content like this.